Yes, welcome back, boys. Good morning. Today we are going to start again with the morphology of flowering plants. So, in the last class, we had discussed about uh, the different external features of the plant, like the root, okay, the modifications of the root, the stem, its modification, the leaf, and its modification. But one thing that this portion has recently been removed from your syllabus for the year 2020, so you don't need to go through that lesson. So anyway, today in this class we are going to study about the inflorescence, okay, and we are going to study about the flower characteristics, about the different whorls of the flower and different characteristics. So that is the in your syllabus as of now. So when we say inflorescence is the pattern of arrangement of flowers on the floral axis, how the flowers are arranged on the floral axis. So we know that this flower is a modified shoot. So the shoot apical meristem, the apical meristem, the apical, when I say apical, it is the tip portion, okay, the meristematic portion which grows very rapidly to form the apical part of the plant. That apical meristem changes into the floral meristem, okay, floral meristem from which the flower will arise. So this internodes, which normally elongates, will now stop elongating, and then the axis will get condensed, it will get shortened, and this apex will now start producing different kinds of floral structures or appendages sidewise. Instead of leaves, they will produce these floral structures, and then ultimately it will transfer itself into a flower, and the flowers are solitary flowers. So the arrangement of flowers, the floral axis, that is known as inflorescence, how the flowers are arranged. So accordingly we can classify this inflorescence into two types. One is the racemose inflorescence, other one is cymose inflorescence. So I'll be putting up the pictures of racemose and cymose inflorescence in your WhatsApp group, okay, so you can have a look there. So racemose inflorescence, the main axis, it continues to grow. जुन चाहिँ flower develop हुँदैछ, the flower, the main axis will continue to grow, and then the older flowers are born towards the base. Munipati चाहिँ older flowers are there, and then younger flowers are on the top. Just so this figure that is given in your textbook is showing racemose inflorescence, but a very good racemose inflorescence would be that of the mustard flower. You must have seen mustard flower. So older flowers are at the towards the bottom, okay, of the plant, lower end of the plant, and younger flowers are towards the top. So new flowers, as the apical part grows, the floral meristem grows, new flowers will continue to develop. र त्यस्तो खालको arrangement of flowers, okay, the inflorescence, that type of inflorescence is known as racemose inflorescence. So what we say, the flowers are developing from base to upwards. So we can say these flowers are born laterally in an acropetal succession. Acropetal succession means from base to upwards. Older flowers are towards the base, younger flowers are towards the upper side, that is towards the tip of the plant. So this is racemose inflorescence. The other type of inflorescence, that is known as the cymose inflorescence, okay, the flower, the main axis will terminate in a flower. So at tipmost portion, the flower will develop. So, and then this diagram is showing the second one, okay, so this is showing the cymose inflorescence. So at the tip you can see the flower has already developed, and the younger flowers are developing towards the base, okay. So this is not in acropetal order, okay. यो माथिको चाहिँ acropetal order मा थियो, okay, whereas this is just opposite. The older flowers are developed first, they are at the top, and followed by the younger flowers which are developed towards the base. So we say this is the flowers are born in a basipetal order, okay. So यो भयो cymose inflorescence. So I am going to share a picture, a good picture of both racemose and cymose inflorescence in your class group. So this was about inflorescence, okay. If we have to talk about examples of cymose inflorescence, Okay, racemose I have already given you. Mustard flowers would be a very good example. Cymose inflorescence like acacia species and mimosa species. Okay, the touch-me-not plant is a good example of cymose inflorescence. So now let us move into the flower characteristics. We know that flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Angiosperms are flowering plants, and then the main reproductive structures are the flower. So this a typical flower we know has 4 different kinds of whorls which are arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicel. Muniko stalk or the pedicel, that is known as the thalamus or the receptacle. So this cup-like structure, the cup-like structure on which the flowers are born, so this is known as the thalamus or the receptacle. And on this receptacle, these various structures, basically the 4 structures that we know, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, are born. So this calyx and corolla, which are the outer 2 walls, these are the accessory organs. Accessory organs means they are not directly involved with reproduction, but they help in reproduction. Okay, the calyx and corolla, they help in reproduction. Like for example, corolla is variously colored. Okay, so these beautiful colors will help in attracting the insects, which help in what? Pollination. Okay, so then we say these 2 structures are accessory organs. They are not directly involved, but they are helping in reproduction. And the 2 structures which are directly involved with reproduction are androecium and gynoecium. So they are the reproductive organs. Okay, so if these outer 2 structures, calyx and corolla, are not clear, it is not clear, it is not distinct, then we call it as perianth. So there is a term called perianth. Okay, perianth. So we say this many number of perianth, like this. Okay, then the other thing is that flowers may be unisexual or bisexual. If the flower has only the carpels or only what? Stamens, then we say it is a unisexual flower. Okay, so then flower may also be bisexual generally, like in hibiscus. So both male and female parts are, both androecium and gynoecium is present, so the flower is bisexual. So this is about the 4 whorls of the flower: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So now let us go into the other characteristic that we need to study, that is the symmetry. Okay, symmetry bandar say, when we cut the flower into the different halves, how in how many possible ways can we cut it in equal 2 halves. So one is the flower may be actinomorphic. Actinomorphic bandar is a it shows radial symmetry. Okay, radial symmetry, just as the amilo we studied in the animal kingdom also, radial symmetry. So when we cut a flower from all different planes, of course longitudinally, okay, from top to bottom longitudinally, so that if we can cut it into 2 equal halves from any planes, like for example this flower, say for example this is hibiscus flower. Okay, we cut this flower into we can cut it from any plane. Okay, so it will be 2 equal halves. So then we say this flower is actinomorphic. Okay, actinomorphic. And then there is a sign or a symbol, okay, or a formula we can write. So this structure means that the flower is, this symbol means that this flower is actinomorphic. Okay, this is example in case of China rose. Okay, similarly त्यस्तै प्रकारले if we can if we cannot cut the flower into 2 equal halves from all different planes, we can cut it into 2 equal halves from only one plane. So then we say the flower is zygomorphic, like the flower of beans, for example, pea. You must have seen pea flowers. Okay, so this pea flowers we can cut it into 2 equal halves from only one plane. So त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामी भन्छ it is the flower is zygomorphic. Okay, so the flower is zygomorphic, and we show this is the symbol. So the flower is zygomorphic. So flowers can be either actinomorphic or zygomorphic. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this. Then let us now talk about the floral appendages. Okay, calyx, corolla, these are the floral appendages. So when we talk about these floral appendages, it may be in multiples of 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so these multiples of 3, 4, 5 भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ, if you see this figure that I have drawn in my book itself, so if you see, suppose the petals of a flower, okay, there are 3 petals, so we say this flower is trimerous. Okay, so the flower is what? Trimerous. So yeah, the trimerous flower. Why? Tri means 3, so 3 petals, the flower is trimerous. Okay, then then tetramerous. When we say tetramerous, so how many petals? 4 petals. Okay, tetramerous. And pentamerous, 5 what? Petals. Like example in case of hibiscus species. Okay, trimerous हामीले यो examples यो oxalis plant मा हामीले पाउँछ, के भन्छ त्यो चरी अमिलो. ओके, जो हामीले खान्छ पनि, अमिलो पनि हुन्छ है. र सो यसरी हामीले के गर्न सक्छ, फ्लावरलाई we can either say it is trimerous, tetramerous or pentamerous, depending on how many floral appendages are present. Okay, when we say floral appendages, it could be calyx or corolla. Okay, now let us come back to the male part of the flower. The male part, that is the androecium, is composed of stamens. Each stamen, it represents the male reproductive structure, and it consists of stalk and the filament. Like here you see, this is the stalk. Okay, the structure that holds the anther. So this is the stalk, okay, or the filament, and this is the anther. Okay, so anther on the top. Okay, so inside this anther we find the pollen grains. So this anther is usually bilobed. भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ it has 2 lobes. Like you see, this is the filament and this is the anther. So there are 2 lobes. Okay, so it is bilobed. Now inside this anthers, okay, there are lobes, and then these lobes or the 2 chambers that are there inside this, these are known as the pollen sacs, and inside the pollen sacs are developed the male pollen grains, okay, or the male gametes. Then moving forward, sometimes the stamen may also be sterile. Okay, sterile means it is not able to fertilize, so it is sterile. So then we call it as staminode. Like for example, in cassia species, okay, canna species of plants, cassia species भन्दा चाहिँ series जस्तो plant हुन्छ है, series को रुख हुन्छ. You must have seen, those of whom you are more familiar with nature. So this cassia species generally having yellow colored flowers. So यसको stamens हरु चाहिँ कस्तो छ, it is sterile, and then we call it as staminode. Okay, the stamen is staminode. Then coming back to other characteristics of the stamen. So this the stamen may, okay, the male part of the flower, this that is the stamen may be attached to the corolla. For example, this is the petal or the corolla. Okay, so we see the filament is attached to the petal. So then we say this stamen is it is epipetalous. Okay, we use the word epipetalous. So why? Because the base of the filament is attached to the petal. Okay, when epi means above, so this is the male part is above the, it is attached to the petal. So epi, and there are some terminologies. Epi refers to above. When we say hypo, it means below. When we say mono, it refers to one. Like for example, we are going to discuss about the type of stamens now. Mona delphus stamens. Okay, so that means it has only one filament. And then di, when we say this term di, it refers to two. Okay, so epi, hypo, epi means above, hypo means below, mono means one, di is two, you know that. Okay, so these terminologies are used here. So epi, above the petal, okay, the filament is attached to the petal. Okay, so the this stamen is epipetalous. Okay, or we may also use the word epiphyllous as given in your book, epiphyllous, when the stamens are attached to the perianth. Perianth भन्दा चाहिँ यो जो चाहिँ calyx and corolla is not clearly it is not distinct. We cannot distinguish between calyx and corolla. एउटै structure मा के भएको छ, merge भएको छ, so we call it as perianth. Okay, then let us come to the stamens. For the characteristics of stamens, either the stamens are polyandrous, that means it remains free, it is free, okay, or it may be united in a bunch in various of various types or degrees. So either it is free, the stamens are free, or it is united. So the stamens may be united in one bunch or one bundle. Okay, then we call it as monadelphous, like in case of China rose. So you can have a look at this figure. So the first one, monadelphous stamens as in China rose. So there is a structure on which the stamens are attached. Okay, so there is a tube which is known as the staminal tube, on the outside of which the stamens are arranged. A large number of stamens, so we can see the filaments and the anther. So large number of stamens are arranged on this staminal tube. Okay, so this is known as monadelphous stamen, example in China rose. Then the stamens may also be diadelphous, okay, as in garden pea. So garden pea must say diadelphous stamens, where they are you see the filament will branch into two, and then there's one stamen separately, and there is a bunch of a bunch of anthers on the branched filament, the other filament. So basically it is the filament is divided into two, so we call it as diadelphous stamens. We see this type of stamens as in case of garden pea. Okay, so then if there are more than two bundles of stamens, as in case of citrus plants भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ orange, lemon, all these are citrus plants, so we call it as polydelphous stamens. Okay, polydelphous stamens. So this was about the male part, that is androecium. Now we will move on to the female part, that is the gynoecium. So we know that gynoecium is the female part of the flower. So it may be made up of one or more carpels. Okay, so a carpel generally it consists of three parts: stigma, style, ovary. We already know this. So the ovary, that is the lower part of the basal part, which is swollen. Okay, and then that is followed by the elongated tube, that is the style, and on the top of the tip, that is the stigma. Okay, the tip of the style is known as the stigma, and it has a surface which can receive the male gametes, that is the pollen grains. Now the lower basal swollen part, that is the ovary. Okay, the ovary bears one or more than one ovules, okay, structures which are attached to the flattened cushion-like structure that is known as the placenta. So then this so when there are more than one carpel that is present, okay, then we call it as apocarpus. So I would like to show you apocarpus structures. So this diagram number B, okay, you see that these are apocarpus. So this is the swollen base, okay, and then each of these are separate. So there are many carpels, but they are not fused together, that they are free. So therefore these free carpels are known as apocarpus. Okay, so this is an example in case of plant that is known as Michaelia champaka. Commonly we call it as champ. Okay, जुन चाहिँ हामीले चाँपको रुख देख्छ है with white flowers. So it has such kind of structure. So the carpels are apocarpous. Okay, it means that the carpels are free, they are not fused. Okay, आफ्नो आफ्नो अलग अलग बसेको छ. On a stalk it is arranged, but they are they are not fused, they are separate. Okay, also examples could be lotus and rose. So these are apocarpous. Then also it could be syncarpous when the carpels are fused, as in the case of mustard, tomato. Okay, so if it is fused, if the carpels are fused, then we use the word syncarpous. So apo, okay, again these terms are very important. When we say apo, it is free, apo, apo, free. Syn, 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 that is fused. Okay, either it is apo or it is syn. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. And then after fertilization, the ovules will then develop into seeds, and the ovary, the wall of the ovary will develop into a fruit. So this is about the different structures inside the flower, and the different types, and how and later on it will what will develop into seeds and what develops into fruit. We know the ovary, the ovule develops into seeds, and the wall of the ovary develops into fruit. Now we will move on to placentation, the arrangement of ovules within the ovary, that is known as placentation. How the ovules are arranged. Okay, if you see this diagram on the textbook, okay, so these are the ovules. Okay, one by one let us discuss. So these are the ovules. Okay, so how the ovules are arranged in the ovary, in the wall of the ovary. Okay, so that is known as placentation. So placentation could be marginal placentation. I'm going to share a picture, a good picture in your WhatsApp group about placentation also. Okay, so that you have a better idea. So the placentation could be marginal, as in the case of pea plants. Okay, the first one on the top. So this is marginal placentation. So the ovules are arranged marginally in one side. Okay, all of these ovules are arranged. So on the wall of the ovary elements are marginal placentation. So these ovules are arranged on the ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary. Ventral banda chahi the lower side. Okay, and the second one is axial placentation. Axial placentation, as in the case of citrus plants. हामीले citrus भन्ने बित्तिकै यो अघि हामीले भनिहाल्यौं हैन, lemon, you cut a lemon into you can cut a lemon in such a way, if you cut from between, okay, जस्तो इक्वेटर जस्तो अर्थ को इक्वेटर को पोर्सन जस्तोबाट काट्यो भने चाहिँ then you can easily see the axial placentation that is there in citrus plants. Okay, so axial placentation in lemon, for example, and the placenta is axial, and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary. Multilocular means there are many locules or chambers in the ovary. You see this figure, so there are many chambers. Okay, this is what we see in citrus plants. Okay, citrus fruits. Then there are many locules. Here there are 3 locules, 1, 2, 3, and the seeds are arranged in each locule. Okay, so this type of placentation is seen in citrus plants. So yo bhayo axial placentation. Then the other one is parietal placentation. Parietal भन्ने बित्तिकै wall. Parietal refers to wall. So you see the third figure, this is parietal placentation, as in the case of mustard plants. Okay, the seeds are arranged on the wall like this. Okay, so this is parietal placentation. So mustard and argemone, these are good examples of which placentation? Parietal placentation. Then the fourth one, that is free central placentation. So free central placentation is seen in plants like dianthus species and primrose species. The figure number D, you can see this is free central placentation. So there is only one locule or chamber, and inside which all these ovules are developed centrally, So this is known as free central placentation. Then the last one, that is basal placentation. Okay, figure number E. So this is showing basal placentation. So this is seen in plants like marigold and sunflower. Okay, so these are the 5 different types of placentations. The first one was marginal placentation, that is seen in garden pea. Axial placentation, that was seen in citrus plants. The parietal placentation, that was seen in mustard and argemone. Free central placentation, that was seen in dianthus and primrose. Basal placentation, that is seen in plants like sunflower and marigold. So this was about the type of arrangement of the ovules within the ovary. Okay, that is known as placentation. So with this we will wind up our today's class. So thank you, boys.